Hello, everyone. Welcome to Court of the Rings on twitch.tv/LotraStream. I'm your community manager, Cordovan, and I'll be with you for the next hour. We're going to look at some more about our upcoming 64-bit server transfers. I'll have the latest news and some things that we have going on. I'll take a look at events that are happening, and then I'm going to go in-game on one of my admin characters and show you the new stuff that is available with Rowan Raspberry and the new loot boxes, Adventurers and Travelers Steelbound loot boxes. So that's what we have going on today. If there's time, I could get to a little bit of questing, but honestly, when I'm looking at sort of all the news and the questions and everything, I don't know that there's going to be a lot of time for questing here today. So this could just be mostly a Q&A today. And if that's what ends up happening, well, that's what it's going to be. So welcome, everyone. How you doing? It's been a little bit of a rough week on the login side. I'm sorry, people on Evernight. Really, since last weekend, we have had a recurring issue where logins have periodically gone bad on Evernight, and we've been working throughout the week here this week to resolve that issue. And we had another issue this morning, frankly, with the login on Evernight, and think we've made some progress on it. So fingers crossed we should be getting to the end of it, but we ended up having some hardware-related issues overnight in our data center that mostly impacted the other game. It mostly impacted Dungeons and Dragons Online, but it impacted. It's been part of the cause, not directly, but part of the cause for why we've had these Evernight problems, and it's also why the Lotro store wasn't available for much of the game worlds last night Eastern time. And so we've been having to do some hardware related work on our circuitry and things throughout the week. And unfortunately, that's had some recurring issues that have been happening on Evernight. We are working to get to the bottom of it, and we have made progress today. So heading into the weekend, that's kind of sucks, but we are on top of it, and we do have, throughout the week here, now that we've kind of been having to deal with this, our knowledge of what's going on and what's happening and all that has been increasing. And so we're in a position to respond to it, should it continue to happen here. But hopefully not, because gosh darn it, I want some sleep. I have had a couple of late nights here in Cordovan world. I was up to like 3:30 in the morning on, was it Wednesday? Whatever that was. That stunk. But of course, you're all experiencing this too. So on the tournament, just real quick, yeah, I wasn't here last weekend because I was in an esports tournament, a arcade-based video game tournament over in Utah. I placed in the middle of the pack is where it ended up. I don't actually know what my final placement is, but it was in the middle of the pack. It wasn't top three. And but a good time was had. It was really nice. Basically, I played two arcade video games by this small arcade maker that's growing bigger called Allen One. They're doing a thing with Atari, and they had Asteroids and one of their other games that was available to play. And I'm pretty good at that game. So much so I'm topping their world leaderboards. Well, not topping, number 2, but that happened. Anyway, so I was off doing that over the weekend, and it went good. Didn't win, but I had a good time. And it was actually when I was going through airport security to get back on my plane. Because I was up late that Saturday night, right? And so I didn't get back to the hotel until, I don't know, it was close to midnight or something like that. And I had to get up at 6:30 or whatever for my flight, so I went straight to bed. Meanwhile, all you poor folks in Evernight couldn't log in after, what was it, 9:30 or so Eastern. And it wasn't until I got into the airport security line, opened up my phone, I was waiting around, flipped over to the Lotro forums and saw like 87 posts in my approval queue as a moderator, and I was like, that ain't good. So then from the airport, I escalated the Evernight issue on Saturday or Sunday or whatever day that was, Sunday, I guess. Yeah, Sunday. To everyone. So that was my life. That was my weekend. But turns out you can do it. I mean, granted, it would have been nice to have caught that earlier, but but nonetheless, I can do it while standing in the line of airport security. So. Otherwise, yeah. So, but we do have actual Load news that I want to get to as well, and I do appreciate you giving me the opportunity to kind of geek out a little bit about what I've got going on. But I have kind of a big topic I want to talk about, and also some cool things in the news, and we got some neat public events happening. So let me actually start with public events because I know I'm going to be talking for a while when I move to my next page here. And that is that right now we have Hobnanigans going. That started yesterday and that runs through Sunday, getting shut off at 3 a.m. Eastern on the 3rd of Monday. But also, this is our weekend where we start the hardtack crafting event up again because it's going to be the 1st of February already. And so that kicks off on, is that tomorrow? That's tomorrow, right? Yeah. So tomorrow, 10 a.m. Eastern, the hardtack crafting event begins, and that runs through the 7th of February. And then next week, we have a skirmish mark boost happening, and also Ill Omens is underway. That's the other big thing that's happening right now is the Ill Omens skirmish event is underway. That kicked off yesterday at 10 a.m., and that runs through the 2nd as well. And that's a good reminder to me. I need to go update our page with that dating here as soon as I'm done with the show here today. So I'll get that done as well. And then Rowan Raspberry arrived this week. So we actually have quite a few things happening inside of the game here on the Lord of the Rings Online. But I wanted to move to what I know is going to be probably the most significant bit of news of the show, and that is we're getting ready to publish our 64-bit server FAQ. If everything goes well, this should be published by end of day today over on Locher.com. The main thing that's missing at this point is I don't yet have what we call staged. That means I haven't put it up on the website editing software, the French or the German version of this article, and that's on my to-do list between shows here this Friday. But assuming this stuff comes in from the localized copy comes in today, this will get published today. And if it doesn't, because I do want to make sure I publish this to all of our players at the same time. In English, French, and German. So if it doesn't come in, it could theoretically be like Monday, but I think it's going to be coming in while I speak, and I should get this staged pretty much as soon as the show is done. So this will be out by evening time Eastern, I would think, today. And this is going to be our 64-bit server transfer FAQ with a whole bunch of information on it. So. No, I am not saying Ill Omens will end Monday. I'm sorry if I implied that. That runs through February 18th. The Ill Omens skirmish event runs until the 19th at 3 a.m. Eastern. So through February 18th on the Ill Omens skirmish event. Sorry if I mangled my language there. I'm just quick looking at chat. I believe Mystic. Well, I'm sorry, can't quite read your name, Mystic or something like that. There is a total amount of available character slots that is a limit, and there are technology and performance reasons that we can only go so high on that. So I don't know that we can dramatically increase the total possible number of character slots that an account can have. Although it's something that we have been looking into as part of this consolidation, and if there is room to move more in the future, maybe there is something we can do there. But for now, now there won't. When are the servers opening? Well, see, here's the bad news. I'm sorry to tell you this. I'm sorry to tell you this, Arabani. Even this isn't going to tell you when the servers are opening, and I'll get to that in just a second. But there's a reason for that. The answer, though, is as soon as we can on the 64-bit worlds, which is that we're working to get the hardware established. We're working to get, all the mechanical process, all the stuff that needs to go into getting a server ready to open needs to happen. We have, work orders out for various things, and various things are in transit to various things and what have you. But the exact timing of it all is just a little early to know yet. The answer is it's going to be soon, but we'll have more dating on it as we get closer to it. It's going to be a little bit yet. However, we've been getting the ball rolling on this discussion really prior to the holidays, just prior to the holidays, and we know that there's a ton of questions that you have about this process, and we've been wanting to really get it on a page that we've been talking about for a while, and that is pretty much ready to go. So because of that, we're going to get this out to you now so that you can take a look at it. You can understand what you need to do, understand what's happening, and then when we actually do get to the point of plugging in the dates on this document, you'll be pretty well prepared to do whatever it is that you need to do. So let's get right to it then, shall we? This is not available to you to see right now. Just so you know, this is the only place you can see it. I haven't published this yet. And I do have a note at the top. We are not yet ready to announce a release date for transfers, but we do want to share this information as soon as we can to assist in your preparations. Thank you. So, I'm doing something I don't normally do, which is we're getting this with a bunch of parentheses, saying date coming soon. But the rest of the copy is pretty much ready to rock. So, for those of you who are just getting up to speed, we're opening 2 new 64-bit game worlds in the United States and 2 new 64-bit game worlds in Europe, and that, with the addition of our current existing 64-bit game worlds in the US and Europe, will bring a total number of 6 64-bit worlds to the game. And we do intend to keep our existing 32-bit servers open into the future for as long as the population supports it, but we're also fully aware and expect and want people to be playing on these new worlds. So we're going to be opening up 32-bit to 64-bit world transfers here in the near future. There is a restriction in that US servers have to go to US servers and EU servers have to go to EU servers. And that's an unfortunate technological restriction that, although we were hoping to do something about, unfortunately has proven difficult enough to unravel that we have to have that restriction in place. So the details are that VIPs will be able to log into the game world to access their character creation screen for a day and secure up to 3 names per 64-bit world of your choice. You're not going to be able to play the game on this new world, but you can basically log in to create characters to grab your names, and then in the future there's a couple of different methods to do it. You can transfer over a character and then rename that character after deleting the other. That's probably the safest. But you can also just quick delete and transfer if you're feeling lucky. That's what I usually do, and it works out fine. But you do you. You do whatever you want to do there. And then for the second day, we're going to have free transfers from the 32-bit to the 64-bit worlds available to all players. The new game worlds themselves are going to stay closed, but we're going to have the transfer stuff happening. And then with date C, which will be probably something like a day or so later, the new game worlds will open. Free transfers will be happening from the 32 to 64-bit game worlds and will continue. This is some new info through August 31st. 3 free transfers between the new 64-bit worlds. This is also some new information. Will operate on a rotating weekly basis and continue through X date. And I'll get more into what that means here in just a little bit. We're going to let you correct mistakes and figure out where you want to settle, but we can't just open it up to everybody for a free-for-all. So, you already know the names of the worlds, that being Glamdring and Peregrine, Orcrist and Meriadoc. Then we got Angmar and Mordor, and you can read more about that on Lutcher.com, but all you know that. You don't need to know what button to push either. You know this button, but this is for the article for those who are perhaps have never transferred before and need to know how to transfer. So, you're just going to log into your game account, hit the transfer button, select your characters, and decide if you want to do shared items, and do the work. We already went last week into some of the details about shared storage, escrow, shared housing storage, and that. So I don't know that I need to repeat it. I think the community is on board with this at this point, but everything will transfer over, and the relevant storage will be in a withdraw only state until you get to an available limit. That's generally how it works for any kind of container inside of the game, with a few exceptions, that being Embers of Enchantment, Motes of Enchantment, Figments of Splendor, and Monster Play commendations in your wallet. Those have a hard cap, and so you need to spend below that cap before you transfer or lose the stuff. Kind of whatever you want to do, right? I'm not telling you to lose stuff. I'm just saying if you don't care, you don't have to really worry about it. But if you do care, go and spend it down first. We already know about the way renames work for this audience here, so I'm not going to um, have that. And then this article says in preparation, but this already happened with the release of update 42.4 on Wednesday. We have increased the base number of character slots available to VIP and premium accounts. So VIPs with active subscriptions will have access to 12 character slots, up from 7. And then premium are getting 10, up from 5. For free and monster play, it's still the same. All right. I think everyone is on board. How will kin leaders know if their character got transferred before their members, or is that tied to login on day 3? So, Lady Calathil, I can explain that in just a second, but really the core of it is you will need to coordinate with your kin members. You'll want the kin leader to log into the destination world first. Doesn't matter which transferred when, what, where, but it matters who logs in first. And the reason for that is the kinship leader's got the data about the kinship, right? So the kinship leader logs into the new world, the kinship gets automatically reformed, and then anyone who joins is going to automatically get added to that kinship. If a member joins before that process happens, meaning because the kinship leader hasn't even logged in yet, there is no kin to join, then they are going to get disbanded from the kinship, and you'll just need to send them an invite to bring them back in, which is pretty easy to do, thankfully. And then you'll need to reset up their permissions. So the way to get around that, it's not like I mean, it's only critical to the point because you might need to send them out some invites if you do it wrong. But just have the kinship leader log into the game world first, and that'll resolve really any of those concerns. Will the EU servers be in Europe physically, like Mordor? Correct. What does 64-bit server mean? Severlin gave an excellent answer to that yesterday, but it's really about memory usage, technology. It's a computer upgrade. It's basically a server upgrade from old 32-bit tech to 64-bit tech. We got so many bits these days. Man, it's like a peanut butter sandwich in here. What does that even mean? Okay, but you'll find generally the smoothest possible, best performant game that we are able to offer. All right, so let me get to the bit that probably you're curious about: temporary free transfers between the new 64-bit worlds. We're aware that people might actually transfer to the wrong world and then get stuck, and then they're going to be like, well, I don't want to pay to transfer from, Glamdring to or Peregrine, but all my friends are on the other world. Now what do I do? So what we're going to do is temporarily offer free transfers between the new US 64-bit worlds and between the EU 64-bit worlds on a weekly rotating basis. It's going to be a shorter basis. And the reason for that is we can't have free-for-all transfers back and forth, besides causing gameplay exploits. There's also some real problems with that kind of transfer tech happening over and over and over again. The opportunity for character data corruption and that is just fairly high. The system is not really designed to have people transfer back and forth over and over. So as a result, we need to have it one way for 1 week, one way the next week, one way for 1 week, one way the next week. And that's what we're going to do. So week one will be from downtime to downtime, Wednesday to Wednesday. Free transfers from Peregrine to Glamdring and from Meriadoc to Orcrist. And then the following week will be free transfers from Glamdring to Peregrine and from Orcrist to Meriadoc. And we'll do that for some number of weeks yet undetermined, but enough to give you at least a couple of opportunities to transfer to the server that you actually want to be on permanently during this transfer process. So this is not going to be going most likely until the end of August. This is going to be much shorter, but we do want to give people an opportunity to correct mistakes, or perhaps like, hey, I wanted to transfer to Glamdring just because it seemed cool, but then I was talking to these people and I want to join them over on, and so we want to give that as an opportunity. All right, so if you're a kinship leader, the main thing to know is you don't need to disband your kinship. You do need to abandon or sell. Abandon is what happens if it's a classic kinship house, and sell is what happens if it's a premium kinship house. But either way, you'll click the button to sell, most likely, assuming it's a premium house, your kinship house before you transfer. And then all the stuff's going to go to all the various places it needs to go to. And then when you transfer over, all that stuff will be back for you. Now, you are going to get a refund before you transfer, because as soon as you sell, you're going to get a refund. So that's going to happen on your origin world. You're going to get a mail, and it's going to have all the writs and stuff that you need. And then when you transfer, you can buy a new house, and all of your housing storage and all that will be there for you. So this goes into the detail of what you need to do there. But I know that there was some confusion, both internally and externally, frankly, about what the difference, what do we mean abandon or sell? What do we mean abandon or sell? It's the same thing. The difference is you abandon a classic house and you don't get your gold back. You sell a premium house and you do get all your stuff back because you spent real money on it. And that's the difference. All right. And then what I just described about the kinship leader logging in first is in this article. And if you're a kinship member, you really don't need to do anything other than potentially wait until your kinship leader logs in. About personal housing and transfers, there really are few things you need to do other than transfer. The belongings and the history of the ownership of your house is going to go with you to your destination world. And when you log into it, you're going to have a mail that has an attachment of currency equal to the purchase cost of the house. Now, because this is different, and this is why it's separated out between kinship leaders and everyone else. Kinship leaders, are going to have to sell their kinship house in order for the process to work and get those writs on their origin world. Whereas you don't have to do any of that if you just have a premium house and you're not a kinship leader. You can just transfer. And then on your destination world is where you're going to get that mail with all the stuff, like your writs on that, to get what you need. So we recommend you transfer kinship leaders, homeowners, shared items, and then other characters to have the smoothest possible transfer experience. It'll work if you don't do that. It just, it gets a little more complicated because shared items are what's going to bring all your characters' account stuff. So when you get into all those housing and escrow chests and all that, it tends to work best if you transfer the kinship leaders, the homeowners, the shared items, and then everyone else. You need to know that in-game mail is not returned. So if you've been using mail as storage, oops, get ready to put something somewhere. But more specifically, if you do have attached items from mail or things like that, or messages that you wish to preserve, maybe you need to take screenshots or something now, because that in-game mail will not be preserved. Any auctions underway are going to be lost. Your progress on the legendary items reward track is going to be lost. And unfortunately, we're actually aware that the timing of this may not be the greatest in the world. Because we've got a start of a new track happening pretty soon. The plan is to do the transfers as the last I heard, and this could change, so please, if this changes, I'm correct. It just changed. Uh, the plan is to have the new Legendary Items reward track debut shortly after this transfer period starts, so that people don't start the new reward track and then lose their progress when they transfer. And that means, I think for the first time ever, we might need to manually extend the existing reward track out by a little bit. So that the timing works, so that we're not debuting a new track and then doing transfers. And so, depending on all these factors I've just described in terms of timing, is really going to be where we land on this. But just be aware that the intention is to open up the new LI reward track after the transfers start, so that you don't have to, for a whole bunch of reasons. And that means that the existing one's going to probably end up getting a little bit more time. Also, Monster Play characters are in fact going to be able to transfer for free to these new 64-bit game worlds. And we do have PvMP enabled. There was some question about what we were going to be able to do there. There was some technical considerations we kind of came up at the last minute. But we've been able to figure it out. So Monster Play characters will be able to transfer for free to the new 64-bit game worlds. Then, in this article, I largely just go over what I just told you, but in question and answer form. There are a few other bits, though, that more granular details that I wanted to get into, and that's also in this fact. So let's go to that. We do just... our RP servers are going to be just like Landreval and Lowerland in terms of the rule set and how it goes. We're not enforcing RP rules, but we do want to encourage people to RP. But really, it's about designating the world so that the RP players know where to go and know where they maybe like to go. We are working to create French and German chat channels. I don't know if we're going to get there in time for launch. There's a thought that if we absolutely have to, we could just go into the game worlds and create chat channels when the games are down and do it that way. So there is kind of a hacky way we could do this if we really need to. But longer term, we intend to offer French and German separate world chat channels for people who want to opt into that. We are not closing the 32-bit game worlds, but at some point, as Severlin has stated, we're going to have to take a look at where they're at. And as long as there's a population able to support them, we intend to keep them open. But if ultimately the communities do shift to these new 64-bit worlds and there isn't the population to support it, then we'll do the typical process that we do to shut down a world and offer free transfers from it. And if that aligns with this, great. But if it doesn't, that's fine too. You know, like I say, these worlds could stay open for years as long as there's people interested in being there, and it makes sense for us. So, but just know that if you're feeling pressure, if you're like, oh my gosh, do I need to make a decision? No, you don't need to make a decision. You're fine. If at any point in the future we were going to shutter these worlds, and this really goes for basically any world that we ever release, if we're going to ultimately move on from it, then we're going to offer a free transfer period to characters from it. All right. So I really go into everything I just stated there. There is a little bit more I wanted to bring up. This one in particular, relevant to your interests, relevant to the community's interests. We have made a decision on Treebeard as well. So ultimately, we went a little back and forth internally on whether we should open up free transfers from our active, ongoing legendary world of Treebeard to these new 64-bit worlds. The population on Treebeard has a core group of people who are enjoying the experience, but ultimately the population has dwindled somewhat over time for the Treebeard server, and we've been hearing from the community that there is an interest in getting those characters off of Treebeard to these new worlds as part of the transfer process. This is unusual for us in that typically we only do free transfers from a legendary world when that legendary world has reached the end of its experience. That has been our historic precedent for this. But we ultimately have come down on the side of Treebeard is a 32-bit world, unlike Angmar and Mordor, which are 64-bit legendary Veil of the Nine servers. Treebeard is really our last remaining a 32-bit legendary world, and the core of this is moving from 32-bit to 64-bit servers. So given that, we have ultimately decided that yes, we will be offering free transfers from Treebeard through the end of August to the 64-bit game worlds. I should actually maybe clarify that this is to the 64-bit, that you're not moving to the 32-bit worlds. 64-bit. If in the future we do decide to end the Treebeard experience, we'll offer free transfers again. And the reason that's important is that anyone who's enjoying their time on Treebeard right now, know that we got you. We're still going to go through the Treebeard experience. We're still going to release the updates. Everything that's happening on Treebeard is going to still happen. But there was enough demand from people who aren't playing on Treebeard these days, who want to bring those characters off of that 32-bit to a 64-bit world, that we've decided, sure, let's do that. So anyone who's not playing in Treebeard, you can get your characters off. If you are playing in Treebeard, you can get your characters off for free at the end. I think that might be largely the last bit of news, because the rest, like I say, most of this is already covered and just done in fact form. And then here is a little bit about the Dark Worlds. This is going to be happening later. This is not going to be day one. After this initial rush of people, we're going to get the Dark World rush happening. And these are all the old 2015 closed game worlds. And the way we're going to do that is do one-way character transfers from these worlds. Probably something like one a day until we get through the list. But we'll see. We'll see. Ultimately, it's going to be a volume determination on that. How many characters are actually transferring from these worlds. And that's going to determine the rollout pace. But it'll be something like a daily rollout. Starting at the top of the list and going down. All right, so that article is going to be up on Locher.com potentially later today. And if something comes up, it'll be on Monday. But most likely, end of the day today. Let me take a second to go through chat. That is true. Treebeard is in a position of not having an EU to US designation because it is its own fresh start server that was created on 64-bit. We made sure to do the work to prevent any kind of identification conflicts that are the core reason for why we've got that separation between US and EU worlds. So what that means is when you transfer from Treebeard, you'll be able to transfer to either, but once you get there, you'll be locked in. So once you transfer to a US world, that character will be US world only until and if we can get this issue fixed. Same with the EU. So you will need to make a decision there, but at least that initial decision is actually going to be broader than might typically be experienced, certainly from the 32-bit worlds. And that's only because Treebeard is really its own special case. Angmar and Mordor, frankly, are in the same boat right now, too. Is there a way to know what characters we have left on a Dark World? Ultimately, the way it'll work is you'll hit the transfer button. You'll see whatever characters are available, and that's what you're going to have to deal with. There is the reality that these are worlds that closed in 2015 and have been in a shuttered state since 2018. And we're fully well aware that there's probably going to be some data that is old, incomplete. We honestly don't know everything that you might experience in terms of a character transfer on a world like this. you're not going to be able to log into the world to refresh up the character either. So we do expect that there is going to be some amount of technical difficulty with some characters and transfers and things. But for the most part, it should just work. And that's why we're doing it. So ultimately, when we do these Dark World transfers, whatever state your character arrives in is just going to have to be how it arrives. And if it's missing something, there's really nothing we can do about it. That's the reality. We literally just there's nothing we couldn't help you if we wanted to for the most part. So with that caveat is what we're doing all these transfers on. But everything should everything should be basically fine. So we'll see how it goes. But that's the thing for these Dark Worlds is because they are kind of in a particularly old state. We're just gonna kind of have to see how it goes. I have not heard plans to do special server title boxes. I think it would be a complex topic. I don't know that that's something we can do given our other work, but I can bring it up. Why was the High Elf update not on Bull Roar this week? My understanding is there were parts of it that were on Bull Roar this week. And otherwise, it was only because it was the first of multiple previews for Bull Roar. What is my guidelines for name-stealing trolls? How players can act in such situation? We live in a society, man, and unfortunately, despite our best efforts, it is possible that jerk's gonna jerk. Our intention is to do what we can to prevent malicious activity in regards to name stealing. Understanding that name rights are exceptionally complex and emotional subjects, and we have situations where many people have a right to a name that might be trying to get onto a singular game world. Given all those kind of factors, though, someone who deliberately goes in and tries to steal someone else's name, it's a violation of the code of conduct, regardless of the name, what they're even doing, right? Because ultimately it is malicious activity that's governed by our code of conduct. And so, to the extent possible, we want to work with players to enforce that code of conduct. How do we define healthy population for 32-bit servers? Well, congratulations. You've settled on a important question. Um, Ultimately, it is a business decision, and that's not something I can get into specifics about exactly. But the intention is we don't, as long as it's sustainable and we can do it, we want to do it. So in terms of the population, it really comes down to everything from general daily, monthly, quarterly login to money and all the other kind of things. But really, in terms of the player facing side of it, as long as you're hanging out playing with friends on a world that makes sense to keep you on, we intend to keep you there. If you want. If you transfer multiple shared storages, will you get issues if the maximum slots has been passed? No. What'll happen is that's what I talked about earlier in the fact where everything goes into an overflow state. So you won't be able to add more things to it, but everything will be there. And then if you pull something down then below your account limit, then you'll have access to put things into it again. Yes, old time Locher player. That LI reward track season 13 starting on February 19th on the public event schedule is unlikely. I don't know. We'll have more info on the dating of the LI reward track soon. But that's what I was just saying is I think we want to make sure we do the transfers first before we debut it. And if we're not ready by that time frame, then we're not going to release the LI 13 yet. So Yes, Treebeard will be kept alive. That is ultimately what we are doing here. But we do want to give. We've been hearing enough of you that we're going to let you take your characters off there if you weren't playing on there anyway. Will there be a new marketing effort post-transfer that delineates the new environment with less lag, more content? Yes, I believe that assuming everything is successful, and we have no reason to believe it won't be, then yes, we will definitely let other people know that things are rocking and rolling here. So characters from 32-bit servers are going to be able to transfer to 64-bit servers for free. Correct. That'll begin at a date that has not yet been specified and will run through the end of August. Monster players okay transferring, even if it's multiple of the same class? Yeah. I mean, kind of. No, but yes. You've just touched on the exact problem with Monster Play character transfers, is that there's an unfortunate system where even though you're only allowed to have one Monster Play character of a certain class, if you transfer in multiple, you get a selector screen, and that kind of causes problems, but not enough. We ultimately have come down on the point that, well, not enough of a problem that we can really fix this in time to get this happening, and we do want people to have access. So if they want to pick what character to play, I guess they can. Although it does mean some, like I say, it does have some impact on the world of PvMP. But then it's already had that impact because we've had transfers from other servers, I believe, in the past that have caused this to come to light. So it's a little complicated. Not the greatest solution. We don't really want monster play characters to have more than one type of a class, but the reality is the existing tech it permits it, and until we can fix it, it's just going to be how it has to be. You're not aware of any? Okay, I'm going. What else we got? Can you transfer back to a legacy 32-bit world? There's an outstanding question of how it's going to work during this initial transfer period, but eventually, I think we would probably offer traditional paid character transfers to the game world infrastructure. I don't know ultimately is the answer to that question, but we will not be offering free transfers back and forth between the 32 and 64-bit worlds. It could be we might be able to do paid transfers later. I'm not really aware of too many unique rewards on Treebeard, but if there are specifically unique rewards on Treebeard that make sense to bring to other game worlds, perhaps we could do that. We obviously can't have free, just to be clear, we can't have free transfers to 64-bit worlds and from 64-bit worlds at the same time. It would cause chaos and a lot of problems because people could just zip back and forth, and it would be a real problem. So we will likely do what we usually do for character transfers longer term. But for this initial transfer period, we are not going to be offering free transfers from the 64-bit worlds to the 32-bit game worlds. Will we put housing carryalls on sale shortly before the transfer? I don't know. I don't know. When they have them available to be transferred off, will these worlds appear in the transfer wizard so you'll be able to see where? Or these worlds will. The dark worlds, you mean? Yeah, that'll probably be how it works. Any plans to include birding in the crafting system in a similar fashion to fishing? That would be a great question to ask Orion. I'm going to say probably yes. That sounds like a cool idea. Question about the escrow system. Not sure if it's on the website. When a house is abandoned, accessible via the house panel and the character panel, without collecting all the items first, they're sent to escrow. However, items in escrow from an abandoned home, that's false, old time Lotro player. Just to be clear, there's a belief out there that escrow from an abandoned home is only available for 14 days. That was the case prior to 2013, but has not been the case since at least 2014. So there is no time limit on items in escrow. And that's something we've checked ourselves. All right. I think. Will we ever see a cap on ancient script? Maybe. I don't know. All right. I think I'm pretty much caught up on chat. And like I said, I do have a few other bits and bobs to talk about. When will the UI be upscaled to 4K? I don't know. We do intend to work on user interface in the future, but the timing and scope of that project is not really something I can comment on today. Same with multi-factor authentication. Is update 43 and the quality of life update the same? Correct. Yes, update 43 includes an update to birding. It'll have a new raid, and it'll include the quality of life. The raid is part of the package. I don't know if it's going with launch or afterwards quite yet. I believe it's at launch. It's got the Legacy of Morgoth raid in it. Yeah, I ran it yesterday. How's that for being Mr. Secretive? I was in a group of devs and we ran the new Locha raid on the first 2 wings of it yesterday. That was pretty hot. It's looking good. IMO. All right. Where are we? Set yourself in a checklist. Yeah, let me switch over to the game world. Except I've been talking so much. I got logged out. Let me go and log into the game world on my admin. And then get this done. While I'm doing that, let me just quick mention that we do have a brand new sale. I believe that this is kicking off this week. This goes through February 6th. It's called Known Across the Land. It's debuting here at 15% off of plus 2,000 Virtue Acceleration, plus 5,000 Enhanced Reputation Supply, plus 100% Mark Acquisition Boosts, and that's through February 6th. Our free coupon is a Landscape Soldier token, and that coupon code is March On through February 6th. As players have noticed, we did release update 42.4 this week. That includes the addition of base character slots for premium and VIP, the new Rowan Raspberry and Lootbox stuff, the Ill Omens event, and quite a few bug fixes, particularly a lot of the instance fixes that people have been asking about as well. So you can find the full release notes for update 42.4 on Locher.com. And then finally, since we're, timing-wise, looking pretty good here, this is the page that you can find on Locher.com. This is the list of stuff that's in the new loot boxes, and I got some images of it as well, but I'm actually going to show it off to you here to wrap up the show today, and you can take a look. And this is stuff that is mostly with Rowan Raspberry. In addition to the loot boxes, the pack and the corgi are in fact loot box only, and you can find that on Lotro.com as well. You don't like the new walls? Oh, I'm sorry. Is the population of the 64-bit servers anticipated to be higher than the 32-bit? Well, gosh, I would hope so. We'll find out. But I would expect, yeah, if people are moving on to a couple of big hot new servers, I'm expecting it to be uh, hopefully a great experience for everyone. I have no. I'm sorry, I don't know what the drop chance for the new Corgi is. I couldn't tell you. Well, kinship updates be coming anytime soon. Well, you got to be careful with that word SOON. Um, some level of scoped kinship update has been on our agenda for a while now at Standing Stone Games and on the Lochar team. And we've been wanting to do it for some time. And as with anything in game development, you have to make some tough decisions on prioritization sometimes. And Kinship Update has been one of those that we have not yet been able to get to, but it is something that's on our agenda. And so I would hope to see something about it sometime. But again, don't know on the when. I'm sure that Orion and others will have more when we get closer to it, but just know it is on our agenda. So if it's on the big bullet point list, it's going to happen. I just don't know when. So, all right. So I am on my admin character on Angmar here, and I just went and quick picked up a house to show off those walls. And I gave myself the loot box items here so we can go and take a look at it. Yeah, here we go. So I'm just going to equip the Mushroom Hunter items first, and that would be the Mushroom Hunter's shoes, gloves, hat, shoulder guards, the garb. Let's just see what happens there. Work. And I'm just, like I say, I'm just on an admin character. So. All right, and then that is my accessory. Mounted combat appearance trait. The Tome of the Mushroom Hunter Frog will bring that little froggy out here so you can see it. And then we've got the hearth, walls, and the pack. The Tome of the Corgi, which I can... Well, I'll show you the frog first. But there we are. Now, with this frog, it'll display if you have it equipped. It's got like a special animation and some things that it'll do, but you have to have it equipped in order for it to do that. It's similar to the parrot in that regard, where it needs the animation channel that, like, actually being equipped will give it. So it doesn't quite do as much as when if it's in the cosmetic slot. But let's see here. The pack, the garb, and what have you. Let's bring out the frog. And then we'll bring out the corgi. Named Truffle. He's got mushrooms in his back there. I don't know if you can see it when I run around, probably. Yeah, not super great, but here we go. There we are. I just bought this house before I went live, and I'm gonna abandon it when I'm done. But I can do that because I'm an admin. All right, so then let's take a look at the walls here. I probably didn't pick the right house, honestly, to be showing off these walls, but we're just gonna roll with it. We'll put in the hearth here first. So you can take a look. Obviously, I haven't positioned it, but you can just kind of see how it's on there. The other thing that's going to happen with this hearth is we're actually going to increase its size a bit. We had some feedback from the community that is just a little bit on the small side. And so we wanted to... Oh, that's wall surface. There we go. Never mind. Where's my wall? Here we go. Wall surface. Oh, that's the actual wall. Yep. There we go. And again, like I say, this isn't vertically positioned for this house, but you can just kind of see what's up. All right, well, I mean, I don't know that I need to do a lot more kind of wall look, because you can just kind of see it yourself in terms of the... And this is just, you know, where it is. Over here. Obviously, I need to lower it. But whatever. You know what's up. All right, well, I think that is what we're going to do. Let me go back out in this light here so that you can see the Hunter's Pack outfit. Oop, I'll turn off the maintenance there. And let's see if I can find a good... That's not bad. All right. We take a look at chat. Can I explain details around quantity of housing locations intended to be available on transfer day? It seemed as if it was going to be scaled up. Our intention is, if we can do it, to have pre-unlocked as many neighborhoods as we can. Traditionally, when a server opens, X number of neighborhoods debut with it, and then on the system itself kicks in to dynamically create more housing neighborhoods on demand. But because we know that there's going to be a big land rush here from the 32 to 64-bit worlds, we would want to see what we can do to open up as many of those ahead of time as possible, so no one feels like they need to wait for a housing neighborhood to be unlocked that, you know, already exists. Right now, we have a total number of housing neighborhoods that are possible, and it very rarely gets hit, but it is possible. And if that were to happen, then we would need to do additional work to create and unlock new neighborhoods, and we can do that work if we have to. But I think in terms of the expanded list, what is meant by that is to have as much parity in the number of unlocked neighborhoods on the 64-bit worlds as already exist on the 32-bit game worlds. I did not win my game competition. I came in about the middle. So I played fine though. I'm pretty happy with how I played on that video game tournament last weekend. On the game that I'm good at, I played just fine. Not good enough to win, but I played good. But it was not just that game that determined the final standings, and on the other game, I didn't do so good. And that's ultimately how I ended up in the middle of the pack. I did good on one and not good on the other. I guess I can't play baseball and basketball. What is that robe I have in bag 6? I don't know. Let's find out. Oh, this one? That's the cloak. Oh, the robe of masked wisdom? I don't know. I put it on for some other live stream. That's why I was actually wearing it here. Wherever you get this from. I must have shown it off once before on the live stream, and that's how I ended up with it. But that's what it is. It's the robe of masked wisdom, whatever that is. Okay, I'm going through any final questions here. Carryalls on sale. I will let Silistrata know that everyone wants carryalls on sale before the move, and we could see. It's true. You know, if you bring your frog hat into a raid, it'll have to be on the cosmetic side or not. You know, I mean, it provides a benefit. Provides a benefit of keeping the raid community happy and organized. That frog on your hat may not provide statistical benefits, but it brings the raid together. So, you know. All right, well, I think I've caught up with chat, and I think we've pretty much run out of time. I need to tell you, I will not be here next week as well. Next week, I'm actually, in the coming days here, I'm actually flying out to California, and I'm going to be spending most of next week in a series of meetings with our publisher. You know, all of us here at the SSG side, like me and SSG Branding, are part of a wider marketing infrastructure that has to coordinate through the Daybreak Publishing, and because they do a lot of work as a publisher. And all the other games are in the same boat. So, you know, like the EverQuests and DC Universe Onlines and all that sort of thing. And so, generally, once a year, we all get together, and what we'll do is work through any kind of process issues that or things that have happened over the past year, sort of make sure our plans are solid and everyone's on board and everything we need to deal with is dealt with and organized. And then we also tend to put together for the publishing group, which there is a publishing group there. They have, you know, their own operation that essentially does marketing and PR and other things as well. And all that needs to be coordinated. So it really just a whole bunch of kind of crusty marketing meetings, but at the same time, it's pretty vital to the work that we do. And I'm going to be doing that most of next week. As a result, I'm going to be flying on Friday instead of being able to do the show. So I will still be working, however. This isn't a vacation. I'm doing all the. I'm bringing my laptop. I got a computer. It's, you know, all the work's getting done, but I'm also doing this instead. And what it means is I can't stream next Friday, mostly. There's one other thing I wanted to bring up here then before the end of the show, and that is I am almost ready to launch the Lord of the Rings Online official Discord. There was a time where I was hoping that day might be today, but unfortunately, it's just a little bit more work to do. I'm still waiting to hear back from certain parts of the volunteer moderator program, legal infrastructure, and I got a little bit of localization work to do and all that. But we have got moderators being onboarded right now into the official Locho Discord. And the final passes being done on localization and announcement text and all that sort of thing. So we're just about there. And I'll have more news on its official opening when we're ready to open. Could potentially be next week if I can make it happen while doing what I just told you I'm doing in San Diego. But if it happens, we could launch next week. If not, it'll be the week after. But we're just about ready to open the official Locher Discord as well. So we got a lot happening. I've been busy between update 42.4, update 43, this launch of the 64-bit worlds, the new Lootbox update, and the festival update, and opening up the Discord. We've got a lot happening on the Lord of the Rings Online side, and I really want to thank you for being a part of it. Thank you very much for watching as well. If you're watching on YouTube, giving us a like and a subscribe really does help this channel and help grow the game, the Lord of the Rings Online. Thank you also, everyone on Twitch, for really being the engine that drives this whole bunch of nonsense. And I think that's about it. Have a great weekend, everyone, and I'll talk to you in 2 weeks. Bye-bye.